Sorry about that. Reconvening this special session. And thank you for waiting for us while we finished up with our executive session. Mr. Gonzalez, do you have a motion?
Yes, I do. I have a motion, and I move that the college not hire an interim chancellor, retain Dr. Dolores Duran Cerda as the acting chancellor until the board hires a long-term chancellor or sooner if determined appropriately by the board. And the college proceed right away with a search for the long-term chancellor per the board's prior motion regarding the parameters of the search for the long-term chancellor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have some comments. So, I'll start it by saying, I'm going to, without a doubt, support the decision that this board is making, and I'll do everything I can as a board member to make sure that this is successful. But this is not a motion that I'm going to vote for, and I think it's a mistake. There are a number of things working against us in terms of attracting the best top-tier chancellor candidate that we can find right now. And it all has to do with uncertainty. And I know on its face, moving right towards selecting a permanent chancellor seems like maybe it would create more certainty. But what the uncertainty I'm concerned about is that there are going to be top-tier candidates that we might want to hire who will self-select out of this process because of several major things. One is that we don't know what's going to happen with the HLC, and we're in the middle of that right now. And so for those individuals not having any idea, coming in but not having any idea what that decision is going to be, I don't think that makes us a particularly attractive place for top-tier candidates to want to come to. Second, we have an election right around the corner in 2024. And this is a weird one because, we have the regular elections for the District 3 and 5 seat, but then we have a special election for District 1. And so it's not by design that we would turn over the majority of the board potentially in an election like that. But the board being the boss of the chancellor, again, I think not having that certainty where they know that, at least 3 of the 5 members are still going to be there in terms of who brought them on board, again, is going to cause top tier candidates to self-select out of this process. And I think we're also passing up an opportunity to bring in a strong interim chancellor who can really make some difficult decisions that I think we've all, been asking about in the meetings that we've had about why haven't certain things been happening. And we've seen presentations about inefficiencies and have questions about cost effectiveness and other things. And I think if we still believe that if we had brought in an interim chancellor to deal with some of those hard things over the next year and a half, that then we could turn over to a permanent candidate, a more streamlined college, a more cost-efficient college, one that's more focused on student success, and get past those uncertainties, that we would have a better pool of applicants. And I wanted to put that on the record. I mean, I know I'm in the minority in that thought, and again, I respect wholly the views of the other board members, but I do think moving forward with this is a mistake. That being said, I'll do everything I can to make sure that we're as successful as possible based on the decision of the board. But I appreciate everybody hearing me out.
Thank you, Greg. And that's one thing I really appreciate about this board is even though we have differences of opinions, we work well together, and our sole focus is always to make sure that students and education and the college come first. So thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
Greg, I'd like to thank you for your opinion. It's helpful, and I know for myself that I have thought about some of the items that you have stated. But I got to tell you that, I'm going to restate that in my view, I think that we need to move forward. I believe that this action that the decision we're going to be making is in the best interest, and I could be wrong, but I just think that we need to heal. We have tried really hard to to move forward. And then the other part is that the assessments that you're talking about is something that we can do now. That doesn't mean that we have to wait for a new chancellor to come in to do that. We can move forward with, yes, we do have to have an assessment. You know, I've been requesting that for over 2 years. So, you know, and I appreciate, you have no idea how much I appreciate the fact that you have made that one of your, put it on your agenda. So thank you. All right, that's it.
Mr. Gonzalez, do you have any comments?
No comments at this point.
Dr. McLean?
No comment.
Okay, I would like to say just a couple of things. I was at the college in 2013 when we were under HLC accreditation problems, and we hired Dr. Lee Lambert, who has done some amazing things for the college. So I understand that that is a concern, but I don't think it's going to preclude anybody who is the type of person that we need at this college from joining us. We have amazing staff and faculty and administrators right now who are working on helping us get off the HLC bad list. So I am confident that that will happen this year. Lastly, I believe that moving forward in doing this duty and this responsibility is part of the reason that we were elected to be on this governing board. And I don't want to, I shouldn't say what I don't want to do. I want to spend the next year and a half as a board member moving forward, promoting the college and getting us on the right path. So I am in support of this motion. Are there any final comments? When we close this discussion section, we are going to move on to voting, and it will just be a yes or a no vote. There won't be any discussion. So any final comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion to move forward with the hiring of the permanent chancellor, continuing Dr. Dolores Duran Cerda's acting chancellorship, and sorry, let me see what the third part was. And starting the search. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Any other final information items or business we want to put on next agenda?
I would like the board to consider bringing in David Borowski to help us, you know, in assessing and guiding us in how we to move forward.
For the board,
the board,
strategies and
yes.
board, yes. Okay, that's a great idea. David Borowski is the CEO of the ACCT, and also, is he acting for the
Chancellor's Group.
for AC4? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, if I don't hear any other business items to talk about in the future, I'm going to close this special meeting.